Imagine fighting off like an army of state-sponsored Russian hackers, flawlessly protecting all of your customers' data, and then, popping champagne in the server room, only to have your own government hand you a €250,000 fine for doing, well, too good of a job keeping everyone calm.
Yeah, I mean, it really sounds like a paradox, but it perfectly captures the reality of modern corporate governance. You can totally win the cyber war, but if you mishandle the paperwork, you still lose.
Right, and that is exactly the situation we are looking at today. So welcome to this deep dive. We're looking at a highly revealing German news report that illustrates what happens when the fast-moving, transparency-focused culture of the tech sector collides head-on with the rigid, uncompromising rules of financial regulators.
It's a fascinating clash.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. Our two main players here are TeamViewer, a massive global software giant, and BaFin, the German Federal Financial Supervisory Authority.
Right, so just to set the stage here, TeamViewer is essentially a cornerstone of the modern remote work economy. If you have ever had an IT professional take over your computer screen to fix a bug, there is a very high probability they were using TeamViewer software.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all been there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because their entire business model is built around gaining remote access to other people's computers, their internal security has to be virtually impenetrable.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. And then BaFin, on the other side, is basically the equivalent of the SEC in the United States. They are the strict financial market watchdogs, and their sole mandate is just to ensure fair, transparent, and orderly trading for investors.
Which is exactly what makes this collision so fascinating. I mean, we have a tech giant on one side and the financial police on the other. But the fine handed down wasn't for failing to protect the network.
No, not at all.
It was entirely for how the company talked about the attack. So to understand the financial penalty, we first have to understand the technical reality of the breach itself. Looking at the June 2024 timeline, what exactly happened? Because TeamViewer detected a highly sophisticated intrusion.
Right, they did. They actually suspected they were hit by AP229, which is better known as Midnight Blizzard.
Oh, wow, Midnight Blizzard. And if you follow cybersecurity at all, you know that is definitely not a couple of teenagers guessing passwords in a basement.
Far from it, yeah. Midnight Blizzard is a highly organized, state-sponsored Russian threat actor. They allegedly act directly on behalf of the Russian government, specifically their Foreign Intelligence Service.
That is seriously terrifying.
It really is. When an apex predator like APT-29 knocks on your digital door, it is an automatic, DEFCON 1 level emergency, especially for a company like TeamViewer, where a compromised core system wouldn't just affect them.
Right, it could spread.
Exactly. It could potentially provide a backdoor into thousands of other corporate networks globally.
That is the absolute nightmare scenario. You picture these state-sponsored operatives holding the master keys to every computer running the software.
Yeah, it's a scary thought.
But reading through the actual forensic details of this breach, the reality is quite different. I mean, it sounds terrifying on paper, but it's kind of like a bank robber breaking in, but only making it to the employee break room.
That is actually a highly effective way to visualize the architecture of this event.
Because according to the incident reports, the hackers only managed to access TeamViewer's internal corporate IT environment. They got into the back office.
Right, the administrative side.
Yeah, they stole employee names, corporate contact information, and encrypted passwords of the staff, which is obviously a serious breach of privacy, but they never touched the actual communication platform. They never breached the product environment. And critically, they didn't access a single byte of customer data.
Which is a profound testament to the power of network segmentation. I mean, in the cybersecurity industry, true segmentation is incredibly difficult to execute flawlessly.
I can imagine.
Yeah, TeamViewer had to ensure that their administrative corporate networks, the places where employees check email and log their hours, were kept strictly, both physically and digitally, separated from the servers that handle customer remote control infrastructure.
So getting those passwords didn't actually give them the keys to the kingdom.
Exactly. Because of that architecture, compromising an employee's credentials didn't give the hackers a golden ticket to the crown jewels. Technically speaking, TeamViewer's engineering team did exactly what they were supposed to do.
They did their jobs.
They absolutely did. They contained a world-class threat actor to that digital break room.
So they trapped Midnight Blizzard in the break room. The immediate technical crisis is handled. But ironically, Isolating the hackers and successfully protecting the product is exactly what triggered the financial crisis.
Yeah, it's quite the twist.
It seems like it gave the executive team a false sense of security about what they actually had to disclose to the public.
That is the crux of the entire issue. The threat was contained technically, but the information about the threat was about to become a sprawling legal liability.
Right, because how do you tell the world that Russian intelligence was in your network, but uh, everything's actually fine? This leads directly into the company's fateful public relations strategy.
Right.
They didn't go to the financial authorities. They didn't issue a formal warning to the stock market. Instead, they just wrote up a detailed status update and posted it on their own website on a page specifically called the TeamViewer Trust Center.
And, from a pure technology sector perspective, they genuinely believed they were doing the right thing.
Really?
Yeah, if you look at SaaS culture software as a service, the prevailing ethos is user transparency. If there is a server outage, a bug, or, a security incident, standard practice is to post it on a status page or a trust center so your users are informed.
Makes sense.
A company spokesperson explicitly stated they evaluated the situation, confirmed customer data was safe, and decided this approach aligned perfectly with those industry norms.
Okay, I have to jump in here because I am struggling to see why BaFin is punishing them when the market clearly got the message anyway.
Mhm.
I mean, if I post a notice on the open internet for anyone with a web browser to read, I'm not hiding it. The information is out there.
That is a very logical way to look at it.
Right. Why is putting something public on a company website suddenly considered keeping the market in the dark?
Well, what's fascinating here is the massive, almost invisible canyon that exists between tech industry communication norms and European financial law. You are correct that TeamViewer didn't cover up the breach, but BaFin does not care about your trust center.
They don't.
Not at all. BaFin cares about the market abuse regulation, which is commonly known as MA.
The market abuse regulation.
Yes. MA dictates that publicly traded companies have a strict, non-negotiable legal obligation to formally and immediately notify investors of any inside information that could significantly impact the stock price. This process is called an ad hoc disclosure.
Oh, so we aren't just talking about the message. We are talking about the mechanism of delivery.
Precisely. The mechanism is everything. An ad hoc disclosure isn't just like a blog post that sits passively on a server waiting for people to find it. It is a highly regulated financial instrument.
Interesting.
Yeah, when a company issues an ad hoc, it is blasted out through official regulated financial channels like Bloomberg terminals and authorized newswires simultaneously.
And everyone at once.
Exactly. The core philosophy of MA is to prevent and an individual retail trader get the exact same market-moving information at the exact same millisecond.
Ah, I see where this is going. Because if you just quietly post a technical update on a subpage of your corporate website, you are creating an uneven playing field. You aren't broadcasting it to the market. You are just kind of leaving a note on the door.
That's a great analogy.
And in modern finance, the people reading those notes aren't human beings. They're algorithms.
You hit the nail on the head. High-frequency trading bots and algorithmic scrapers are constantly crawling corporate websites looking for keywords like breach, APT29, or vulnerability.
So a bot scrapes the Trust Center page, flags the word hack, and instantly executes a massive short position against TeamViewer's stock, hours before a regular human investor checking their portfolio even realizes there was a problem.
That is the exact scenario MAR is designed to prevent. By using a trust center instead of the regulated financial megaphone, TeamViewer inadvertently created a scenario ripe for market manipulation and insider trading, totally regardless of their good intentions regarding transparency.
And the market definitely heard the whisper from that webpage. Because the immediate consequence of this Trust Center post leaking out into the wider financial ecosystem was brutal. Even though the hack was contained, and even though the post explicitly said customer data was safe, TeamViewer's stock temporarily plummeted by 10%.
10% of market capitalization erased practically overnight.
Just think about the psychology of that for a second. Your product is completely secure. Your engineers successfully defeated one of the most sophisticated cyber adversaries on Earth. And yet, 1/10 of your company's entire value vaporizes in an instant purely because the words Russian hackers and remote access company appeared in the same sentence.
Yeah, it's wild.
Investors didn't wait to read paragraph 4 where it said the core systems were safe. They just saw smoke and panicked.
It perfectly illustrates how hypersensitive modern capital markets are to cyber risks. I mean, for an investor, a cyber attack represents a black swan event.
Unpredictable and massive.
Right. They don't know if it's a minor inconvenience or an existential threat that will result in billions of dollars in class action lawsuits. So their immediate algorithmically driven reaction is just to sell first and ask questions later.
And that sudden 10% drop in stock value is exactly what woke up the regulators at BaFin, bringing us to the financial fallout. The German financial regulator stepped in, looked at that volatile stock chart, and fined TeamViewer 240,000 euros.
Which is not an insignificant event.
Right. And again, to be crystal clear, this was not a penalty for having bad firewalls. They were officially fined for violating the market abuse regulation for failing to adhere to the ad hoc disclosure rules.
Yeah, 240,000 euros. I mean, for a company of TeamViewer's size generating hundreds of millions in revenue, that specific monetary amount is a little more than a slap on the wrist. It's basically a rounding error.
Right.
But in the regulatory world, the dollar amount isn't the point. It is a flashing neon warning sign to every other publicly traded company in Europe.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. This fine exposes a fundamental, almost philosophical silo effect within modern corporations. You have the IT, security, and PR teams in one room, and they are assessing the situation based purely on technical damage.
Right.
They look at the architecture, they see the customer data is untouched, and they conclude, well, crisis averted. This isn't a material event. Let's just put up a reassuring post for our users to maintain trust.
Sounds perfectly reasonable to them.
Exactly. But BaFin, looking at the exact same set of facts, is assessing the situation based purely on market damage. They see a 10% stock drop and they say, that is undeniably a material financial event, and you failed to file the proper paperwork.
Yeah.
It's as if the server room and the boardroom are operating in completely different realities.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains exactly why BaFin took such an uncompromising stance in this investigation. BaFin is establishing a new regulatory precedent here.
A new standard.
Yeah, their official position going forward is that severe cyber incidents, especially those involving state-sponsored actors, are almost intrinsically subject to ad hoc disclosure rules. It does not matter if your IT team successfully segmented the network.
So the break room analogy doesn't save you.
No, it does not matter if the hackers were contained to the employee break room. The regulator has recognized that capital markets react to the mere perception of cyber risk.
Because cyber risk isn't just an operational IT headache anymore. It is a systemic financial vulnerability.
Exactly. You simply cannot rely on informal tech sector customs when investor equity is on the line. The 240,000 euro fine is basically BaFin telling corporate boards, ignorance of financial communication law is not an excuse.
We don't care how well you fix the servers.
Right. We do not care how well you handled the technical incident. If it has the potential to move your stock price, you must use the regulated channels.
So what does this all mean? When we look at this entire sequence of events, from the quiet intrusion by Midnight Blizzard to the successful containment by the IT team to the well-intentioned Trust Center blog post, and finally to the regulatory fine, what is the ultimate takeaway?
It's a massive shift.
If you are sitting on a corporate board right now, or if you are just trying to understand the mechanics of modern business, how does this change the playbook?
Well, the core lesson is that in today's highly interconnected landscape, a cyber attack can no longer be treated as a localized operational issue to be handled quietly by engineers.
Take public now.
Yeah, a cyber intrusion is an immediate Tier 1 financial event. The era of keeping a breach quiet or attempting to control the narrative through a friendly update on a customer forum is completely over for publicly traded entities.
They have to follow the rules.
Exactly. The transparency rules governing financial markets are incredibly rigid, and a public website post simply does not fulfill a legal financial obligation.
It requires a total structural shift in how companies operate internally. It means the people writing the code and monitoring the intrusion detection systems have to be in lockstep with the people writing the financial disclosures.
And this raises an important question regarding corporate governance moving forward. How do you bridge the massive gap between your technical experts and your financial compliance teams?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because right now, as this TeamViewer case explicitly proves, those two departments are operating on completely different timelines, with completely different definitions of what constitutes a crisis.
Right. TeamViewer's technical side thought a contained breach wasn't a financial emergency.
And the market and the regulator vehemently disagreed. Companies are going to have to build entirely new communication workflows where the chief information security officer and the chief financial officer are essentially holding hands the very second a security alarm goes off.
They have to instantly translate bits and bytes into euros and dollars, and decide within hours if they need to pull the financial fire alarm. It's a staggering amount of pressure.
It really is.
But, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. Something that builds on everything we've just explored regarding transparency and market reactions.
Go ahead.
We've established that BaFin fined TeamViewer because they wanted to protect the market from information asymmetry. They want ultimate immediate transparency through regulated channels. But let's look at the reality of what actually happened.
Okay.
The cyber attack was successfully contained. No customer data was touched. The technical systems held up perfectly. Yet the mere rumor of the attack wiped out 10% of the company's value in a flash, driven largely by automated panic.
Yeah, a textbook market overreaction to a highly managed threat.
So here is the provocative question. Are regulators actually protecting investors with these immediate ad hoc disclosure rules? I mean, if a company is legally forced to grab a financial megaphone and yell, "We've been breached by Russian intelligence to the global stock market," before their IT engineers have even had the time to fully assess that the product environment is actually safe, aren't we just legally mandating market panic?
It's a fascinating dilemma.
It really is. By demanding instant financial transparency for every major intrusion, we might be forcing companies to trigger their own stock crashes over technical breaches that are actually fully under control.
It's definitely a risk.
Are we prioritizing the speed of the disclosure over the accuracy of the threat assessment? It's a delicate balance between keeping investors informed and, well, unnecessarily burning down the house just to prove you aren't hiding any smoke.